Blast off. So here we have today, we're going to be going through and talking about using tabs, indents, and spacing. That's hard to say with my face mask. So one of the first things that I want you to realize is when we start working on our next document, you are going to need to go through and set the font to Calibri size 11. And you'll notice that it's already set there. The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to work with your show hide paragraphs on. Now, the show hide paragraphs are an amazing feature within Microsoft Word because it shows you everything that you have done. When I grade your work, I turn on show hide features. I work 97% of the time in Microsoft Word with show hide features because I want to show you the difference. Looks exactly the same, doesn't it? Line 1 and line 2. 1 I did with spaces. 1 I did with tabs. Okay? So when I go to check, what we can see right here on the very top, you have all those little dots. Those are called non-printing characters, meaning when it goes to print, they're not going to print, non-printing. Below here, I have an arrow. That arrow indicates that a tab was used. The dots will appear as spaces. Okay? Then you will also notice at the very end of the line, we have what is called a paragraph symbol. The paragraph symbol is going to show up where you hit enter. So enter is going to be the paragraph symbol. A line break is called a shift enter. Notice that it doesn't have a paragraph symbol. It kind of goes down and an arrow to the left. So that shows that, hey, I'm just doing a line break there. So I want you to realize you should get in the habit of working in Microsoft Word with your show hide paragraph symbols turned on so you see how it's done correctly. This is another example. This one will take me quite a while. Maybe not too bad. So basically, here we have an example where someone used the tab key on the first line of business. And the second line, I went through and used my center command. At first glance, you probably would have thought the very first line business was centered because it looks pretty close, but it's not quite, especially when you go down below. When I look at my show hide paragraphs again, you can see the top one, I got it to line up by using tabs, so I've had people do that, or they will use spaces. So again, it's going to go through and show from there. So what I want you to realize is by default in Microsoft Word, we have tabs set every ½ inch. Okay, so when I look at the ruler, up here, my vertical ruler, every ½ inch is going to be a tab that is set by default. Sometimes that's nice, but sometimes you want to go through and customize it so that way you have tabs at the exact location you want. Now we have to talk about the types of tabs that we can have. We can have a left tab. We can have a right tab. We can also have a center tab and a decimal tab. Now, 90% of the time, you are going to work with a left tab. Okay? A left tab means it lines up at the left side of the decimal, left side of where the tab is set. So all of these are left tabs because when I hit tab, my cursor went this way, meaning the tab stop is set here and my cursor went there. If I had a right tab set up, it would actually push back and everything would light up on the right-hand side. An example of some time that I would use a right tab stop is if I had, for example, where it said name on the right-hand side on the top of a student paper, I'd type in name and then the underlines, and it would always line up on the right-hand side. That would be an option of me using a right tab. Now, a center tab, whatever you set, it splits either side, just like the center button. So that is oftentimes used when you have lots of text and you want something in the middle to be lined up. Now a decimal tab lines up at the decimal point. You would use that when you want to go through and type in numbers. So for example, if I was putting in a price list of products for the Thunder Zone, and I would have the orange t-shirt at $14.50, then I have my sweatshirt at $36.50, then I have a crew neck at $33.00. It would line all of the decimal points up. That is nice because you are accustomed to looking at prices in a line where all the decimal points line up, because that's how you can very easily add. So we know that we have a left, right, center, and decimal tab. How we change the tabs is located right here. It's kind of off the screen. But if you look at your screen, find that on your screen for Word. If you don't have your ruler on, you got to turn it on. How do you turn your ruler on? Give you a hint. Starts with a V. View, ruler. And there's a check marks next to the ruler. It's going to say it's about right here. Something in here. And then your ruler comes on. Do you see it way over here in the left corner? That's going to be where you change your tabs. Anyone need help getting that on? Sweet. Okay, now if you cursor over that, I'm going to move it just a little bit so you can see. If I mouse over it, it says left tab. Do you see that? I didn't click anything. It just says left tab. I also want you to realize, what letter does it look like? That little symbol? It looks like an L, right? You know it's a left tab. Now, if you click that once for me, it changes. Where is that vertical line now? Okay, so if I look right here, it kind of looks like an upside down T, doesn't it? That vertical line is in the center of the horizontal line. So guess what type of tab this is? Elizabeth? Center. Yes, you are right on. If I click it again, now the vertical line is where on the horizontal line? Horizontal, vertical, horizontal. Where's the vertical line? Is it on the left side or the right side? It's on the right side, so this is called a right tab. If I click it again, then it looks like a center tab with a dot, and that is called a decimal tab. Now we have one more icon that we click on right here, and that's going to be called a bar tab. We're not going to work with that. Then we have an option for our first line indent. Then we have our hanging indent, and then it gets back to L. So you click through, it's always in that order. So I want you to have it set to a left tab, meaning it looks like the letter L. Make sure you're on, you don't have anything typed. You need help getting that on there? Okay, you got to let me know like 10 minutes ago. View, view, ruler. Bam. You're caught up now. Okay? So we are going to set a left tab at 2.5 inches. So here I am. My cursor is on a new line. I'm going to set a left tab at 2.5 inches. So how do I do that? Right here, it's already set to L, and I click on my ruler at 2.5. Do that. Okay. You know what? Mrs. Grassel was wrong. I don't want you to set it at 2.5. I want you to get rid of it. I did this on purpose. So do you see that little L right here at 2.5? You're going to click on it and drag it down. Just drag it onto your page and it will delete it. Did that work? Were you able to delete it? So if you ever set a tab and then you realize, oh, that's not what I wanted it, you can just go ahead and click and delete it. Now, if I click on the ruler, what type of tab am I going to set now? How do you know, Kiara? Whatever this is going to be what you will set if you click on your ruler. So let's set a left tab at 2.75, okay, which is halfway between 2.5 and 3. Yep. So it shows that we have a left tab set there. Now, if I didn't have it in the right spot, I don't have to drag and delete it. I can actually click and drag it to any spot on my ruler. So if I'm like, oh, I don't really want 2.75, I can actually click and drag it to 3. You can drag it to any spot you want. So if you put it on there and you're like, oh, that's not the right spot, you don't have to keep deleting it. You can click and drag it. Now, remember at the beginning where I said that Word has tab set every ½ inch? When you set a tab like this, all of those ½ inch tabs are gone. So if you hit tab and then type in smile, it will start at 2.75. Go ahead, hit tab and type in the word smile. Now, how do you know you hit tab? Because, of course, your show hide paragraph symbols are on, so you see the little arrow. Would you agree? So in case you've forgotten how to turn on your show hide paragraphs, it is right here. Okay, make sure you have your show hide paragraphs on so we can see where you're at. Now, hit enter after smile. On the next line below, do you see how you still have a tab set at 2.75? My cursor is flashing right here. I look at my ruler, I still have 2.75. Now watch what happens on my screen. Nothing, because I'm hitting the wrong button. I went up to my very first line where I typed in Katie with spaces. Do I have a tab set at 2.75? This always kicks kids' butt. Wherever you set a tab, it'll be there from there down. If you want a tab to apply to something you have already previously typed, you have to select all of that area and then set a tab. So if you keep hitting enter after smile, that tab 2.75 will be there. But in order for it to work on this line right here where I typed in Katie, I would actually have to go in and set that tab. Now notice, because I used a shift-enter, it affected actually the next line below it too, because I used the tab to go ahead and center. So I want you to be aware of that. Now, on the next line, let's go ahead and set a right tab at 5 inches. A right tab. Not a wrong tab, but a right tab. So you have to choose the type of tab, switch so it's right, and then click at the 5-inch mark. Okay, so I have 2 tabs set now on this line. I have one at 2.75 and I have one at 5 inches. So if you hit tab and type in the word lunch, and then you hit tab again and type in 3rd hour. So I typed in tab, the word lunch, tab, and then 3rd hour. You will notice if I keep typing text, it's going to line up on the right-hand side. And I can keep typing text, and eventually if I run out of space, it'll go back the other way. That is the joy of a right tab, is it'll line up everything on the right-hand side. Your left tab is missing at 2.75, so switch this back to left. Yep, keep clicking. There, 2.75, which will be right there. Nope, click here. Okay, now drag this one down. Change it to right tab. Nope, that's center. Now click on 5. There. So now you have two tabs set, a left one and a right one. Okay, so we have two tabs set, right? A left tab and a right tab. If I hit enter on the next line, how many tabs am I going to have set? It's not a trick question. 2. Could I delete one of them? I could. On this line right here, if I delete that 2.75, or I move it to 2 inches, then I hit tab and I type in FBLA, awesome. You will notice that it did not apply to anything that was already there. So the biggest thing that I can tell you is you have to be aware of where your cursor is when you are setting tabs. Okay. Get on a new line and delete all of your tabs. Okay, so I'm on a completely new line, and I have no tab stops on my ruler. But my cursor is on a new line before I deleted anything, which means my cursor is directly below, and I still have my line that says lunch and third hour with my 2 tabs. This is going to take me a little bit, so just watch this as soon as you're able to. Okay, isn't that an astonishing sentence? I know I just blew your socks off for the day. But basically, what I'm showing you is in Microsoft Word, I do not hit enter at the end of this line. I hit enters at the end of paragraphs. By default, this paragraph is not indented in. I did not hit a tab to start it. But sometimes when you are typing in citations or sources for an English paper and they want you to type it in MLA or APA style, the first line starts at the left margin and the second line is indented in. This is usually what I see students do. They have no idea how to do it, so they hit enter and then they do this. That is so wrong. It is not the right way. And if an English teacher teaches you how to do that, you can just silently say, that's not right. Don't correct them, because I'm going to show you the right way to do it. So what we have up here on my ruler, this is a hard one, because there are 3 little symbols up here on the very edge of my ruler. I'm putting my cursor in this line of text. I'm going to mouse over in the very first. It says first line indent. That indents the first line of a paragraph. I don't know any other way to say that. Now, the second bottom triangle is called a hanging indent. That's important. And the very bottom rectangle is called a left indent. Okay? A hanging indent is going to go through and cause your text, the very first line to be at your margin, but the second and consecutive lines to be indented in. So again, my cursor is on this amazing paragraph of text. And I'm going to grab this bottom triangle. And it's really important where your cursor is because it doesn't take much to be moved off. So I always mouse over until I see hanging indent, and then I'm going to drag it over. I don't think I had the right one. And look what happens to the second line of the text. Only that line is indented. So do you see how it looks like a hanging indent? The first line is at the margin and the second one is indented in. You grab that triangle and you will see that it is indented in. Do not hit enter and use a tab. That is like spacing to make things centered on your page. Does it work? Yes, but if you have to go back and fix anything, it throws everything just all wonky, and it's not the right way to use software. So you're going to have to go through and use a hanging indent as well. Oftentimes, you're going to have to go through and set your line spacing. So here I have a paragraph selected. As a reminder, I can click once with my white arrow to do a line. What happens if I click twice? Do you remember? Twice is a paragraph. 3 times is my whole entire document. So I'm going to click twice, and I'm going to change the line spacing just of this paragraph. The line spacing is going to be in my paragraph portion of my home ribbon, and I can click my drop down arrow right here, and I can change my line spacing to this paragraph only to 2 inches. The other thing that I like students to be able to know is we can underline text. So I'm going to double click on the word smile, and then I can underline my text. What's my keyboard shortcut for underline? Control and U. Yep, that also will work. And then don't forget, we also have, under my font, we have our text effects. You have all of these cool text effects that you could use. Don't forget, if you choose a text effect and you don't really like the color, you do have options for changing some of the colors with it as well. If you wanted to do a different outline, if I wanted to make a green outline, I could make a green outline. So even though it's preset, you can go through and use that. So that was a quick rundown of some of the work, of some of the things that you are going to need to be able to do using Microsoft Word. Okay?